my friend, Zander Krause. Zander, how you doing, brother?
What up, Big Sills? How you doing, brother?
Hands up. Look at him warming his hands up. 5 wins, dude.
Blasphemy.
5 wins.
Come on, man. This team's not a 5-win football team. This team's not a 9-win football team. This team is 10 plus or bust, and I have them at 13, closer to 14.
So you're even moving the stick closer to 14.
Well, last week I upped it because I don't think the Commanders get a win versus us. I do think that opening game is a tough one. I've had them losing it since the jump, but this is a good football team, Dan. I think this team wins a lot more games than Angelo's projecting. I think you guys are putting a little bit too much stock in how bad you think this defense is. I don't think they're that bad. I mean, I think they're bad, but we won 11 games last year with the 31st ranked defense in the league.
And you had Reddick and you had Cox and you stunk. And now you don't have them guys, and now you're thinking you're better.
All right, well, we got a better coordinator.
Just because I have a better teacher doesn't mean I have a better student.
Well, no, that's not the point. But sometimes
a
better teacher gets more out of a worse student when they know how to play that student's strengths. You're talking to a guy who barely got through college and high school. I know that better than anybody. That good teachers resonate. So
I'm right there with you.
Yeah. So look, let's see on this defense. I hear what you're saying. I get it. I wear eagle glasses when it comes to just assuming they're going to be good. But to say this team is going to win 5 games is I think crazy, in my opinion.
5 games.
I welcome it. I welcome the opinion here on JAKIB Sports. I appreciate Angelo's contributions, but I ain't drinking that Kool-Aid. No way.
I'm not going. I don't know. I don't see 5 there as well. But let me ask you before I get into my Big Sil's bold predictions for 2024 and the Eagles and the final one of the year, preseason wise, as we get ready for the season. What do you make of Vic saying this? Hey, Vic, what do you make of? Do you think your defensive tackles are in shape? He goes, I don't know. We're going to find out Friday. Don't you think that's a shot at the organization for not playing those guys more in exhibition football?
You could take it as that, but I just think he doesn't put stock in the offseason. Like Gary Cobb just said, he's an old school guy, man. We don't play a game. We don't make money for the offseason. We make money for the 60 minutes that's going to happen on Friday night. That's when your money is made. And I think Vic Fangio has an old school approach, and that's what he believes. And I'm perfectly good with that because we are going to see. That's when you're going to see. Even if they played a series in preseason, what would that have told you? If they played a quarter in preseason, what would that have told you? Nothing. We need them for 60 minutes.
But you would at least got these young guys reps.
Okay, but that wouldn't have told you anything about the conditioning of them.
No, but you at least get them. Don't you think you get ready the more you swim?
Oh, yeah, but the question
if you're going to swim in a meet,
the question was about the conditioning. The question was about the conditioning.
Okay.
You're not going to find that out in the preseason, no matter how many reps they played in that game. So I'm good with that answer.
Let's ask this one then. So on September 3rd, you cool with the coach and the defensive coordinator saying, hey, your linebackers. He goes, no, the linebacking core is not settled yet. We really don't know yet about our backers. It's not settled. And he goes, it will be a revolving change. Are you cool with that going into a Packer game 3 days from now?
Well, I think they have an idea of what they're going to do. But look, as you've pointed out all summer long, we got a lot of question marks there, man. You're hoping Devin White can be better. You're hoping that Kobe Dean can play up to par. You're hoping that Zach Ball has any idea how to play off-ball linebacker. These are all things that we do not know. So I think they're going to kind of rotate him around a little bit and see who they like or see who steps up. Sometimes that's what players need to do is go and earn the job. And I don't love it, right? You're coming into a season and you're telling me you don't know who your linebackers are, but I think it's brutally honest is what I think, because I think everybody knows that this linebacking core is the weak part of this team, and it's clear that they know that too. They just said it in a little bit of a nicer way.
I'll tell you what I did like, and I thought this was a main compliment. He was asked a question about Quinyon Mitchell, and he said this: no, he's a good player, and he's had a really good camp. And what you really liked about him was every position that we put him in, he's excelled, and he's had a really good camp, whether it's a nickel slot or putting him at the corner position. you could tell he really likes the player. And Xander, do you buy my take? This is an opinion now. What I'm saying about him, I don't think they want him to beat Isaiah Rodgers out. I think they want him to eventually replace Slay, because what's the point of not having another good young corner when that corner's going to be there longer than Slay's going to? This is Slay's last year. He's not.
Yeah, but what's better preparation for taking over for Slay? Playing on the other outside or playing nickel corner? I think it's the other outside. I think you're right.
It's getting on the field.
I think Quinyon is the replacement for Slay. I think that's a good point. But I don't think they're trying to get him at nickel corner. I think they're trying to get him on the field. And those other guys can't play nickel like he can.
So I don't believe they have the versatility like he has.
Right. So they're trying to get their three best guys on the field, ASAP. And look, if you're going to take Vic Fangio at face value for the comments on Bryce Huff, for the comments on Jordan and Jalen, for the comments on Cooper DeJean, for all those comments, I'm going to take him at face value on what he says about Quinyon Mitchell.
Yep.
If Vic Fangio is not concerned about him as a guy who's coached defense for 40 years in this league, I'm not concerned about Quinyon Mitchell. Now, I do agree with John that I'd like to see him on the outside, but I'm okay with the way they're doing it. Let's see what happens when Cooper DeJean gets back. I got more question marks on him than a lot of guys on this defense, but Quinyon Mitchell, I feel great about Quinyon Mitchell because Vic Fangio feels great about him, and he's been brutally honest on everything else. So I think we can take him at his word, at least until he proves otherwise.
Can I show you why he's a good coach here with this?
Yeah, hit me.
Don't you think it would have been in the best interest of Nakobe Dean to matriculate him into the linebacker position by, like, the way they coach Seth? They put him at weak side linebacker. They put him at will. And before you knew it, he picked up the game. He got a ton of reps. Then he moved back into inside. And before you know it, what happened was the reps helped him be able to understand and see the game to a point where he went to his natural position of playing inside. Isn't that what Fangio's kind of doing here with Quinyon Mitchell? Getting him on the field, putting him in the nickel, putting him in the slot, and he's eventually going to matriculate himself. What he's doing is he's not force-feeding him by putting him out there lining up in week one and play one versus a quarterback who's going to look at him and target him right away. You're going to eventually get him over there, but you don't have to rush to get him over there. You know what I'm saying? I thought they should have did that to Nakobe.
Yeah, I agree with I agree with the Nakobe point. I do wonder if they're slightly different positions, but just to add to the Quinyon take, I wonder if it is a good thing. As much as I'd like to see him on the outside, like, think a couple years from now, think 3 years from now, when Quinyon Mitchell is hopefully your leader of the secondary. Now you're talking about a guy that not only understands the defense, but he's played in all of the positions where he could play, and it's like when you have a leader, right? And you want your leader or a CEO. You want your CEO to have done every job in the company before he becomes a CEO, or is willing to do every job. I wonder if that will help Quinyon in the future, not only be a leader on the field, but understand where to get his guys lined up, understand how to, navigate as a leader on the field. So I think there's a positive aspect for Quinyon in that regard. But on Nakobe Dean, I don't know what they're doing with him. I think we forget he missed all last year with an injury. So that's, he wasn't able to be on the field. So I don't really know. John's high.
How do you assume that he's a starter?
I don't know.
John
says at practice he looks the best of all the linebackers. So maybe it's just a talent thing. Maybe he just has more raw talent and he has to now put it on the field. But I don't know, man. I'm not overly high on Nakobe Dean just because I haven't seen much. I'm not going to write him off yet because he's played 4 or 5 games in his career. It's not like he's been out there and given us a big sample size. Now, having an injury, availability is an ability. So if he can't stay healthy, that's another problem. But I can't write him off yet, but I don't really fully entirely understand what they're trying to do at linebacker. I really don't. I don't think they have the guys in the room, dude. That's what I think it comes down to. I think they're trying to make cake out of shitty baking powder, or however you want to phrase it. I don't think they have what they need to get the best linebacking core.
Chicken salad out of chicken shit. Absolutely.
Exactly. That's a better phrase for it. Yep.
No question here. All right, let me throw this at you here. It's funny when you hear Nick talk. He was talking today, and I heard him. I'll tell you what, he's the greatest word salad interviewer of all time. I mean, this guy will say just a ton of nothing. And he said this when asked point blank question about him not being involved in the offensive game planning. He said that he can pop in, go here, go there. He can go see Howie. He doesn't have to. He's not beholden to the. And I'm like, okay, should we care about that anymore? I mean, should the reporters even ask that question any longer? Because we know the answer, Zander. Like you said, what's the point in continuing that now when you're going down a lane that really we know the answer to? I mean,
Yeah, but it doesn't
it
matter.
doesn't matter anymore, does it?
No, it does, and then they should still ask the question, because if this thing comes off the rails, or if this thing doesn't work as it's projected, Nick Sirianni is going to be the guy on the outs, and they've already set this up, and we talked about this last week, as him being the scapegoat of this team if it fails, and it might not even be the coordinators, it might be Nick, So I think it's fair to continue to ask the questions. If Nick doesn't want to put it out there, well, shit, that's on him for protecting an organization that probably has no interest in protecting him. So I have no problem with the questions. It is interesting, the answers, though. I don't understand what the guy – you said it earlier. I don't know if it was with Angelo. I think you were just responding to somebody in the chat. By the way, I appreciate that. Good to see everybody in the chat today. I think you said it's not about Jalen playing for himself or Jalen going, and they told him, we're going to give you a new coordinator, a new quarterbacks coach, and you're not going to have to talk to Nick anymore. Yeah. And that kind of,
I think that was the compromise, Zander.
Right. I think that makes sense. That compromise makes sense. And if it doesn't work, it's going to be ugly, but maybe it works. I mean, look, I've said all summer, I like Kellen Moore.
There's more pressure on Jalen now that he got his way. Because get this, last year, Nick got his way by elevating Brian, and it was a train wreck. Let me tell you something.
I know. Zander, I don't think there's pressure on Jalen, though.
Zander, if that guy can't pick blitzes up and those two guys can't figure that shit out and they're getting pressure and they get rolled in that game on Friday, and I'm not saying they are. I think it's a high-scoring, close game, and I think it comes down to last possession. Whoever has the ball wins the game. I think that's how
this week. That's what you think.
I think that's going to be a last possession game. And it's going to
be a little scared. I'm a little scared that Angelo could be right about this game specifically. Not the 400 passing yards, but I think we're underestimating a little bit this Green Bay team. I really do. I think Gutekunst is a good GM. I think Jordan Love is a great quarterback. I'm hopeful that this game is going to go the Eagles' way, but I've been weary about this game since the schedule came out. Even when I predicted a 13-4 team, I predicted the Eagles losing this game just because I don't like the setup for the Eagles. Yeah. I don't like losing a game at the Link. I don't like going down to Sao Paulo as the home team, and I don't like everybody all off season talking about how great you are. And then the Packers, who have flown under the radar all off season, who were up and coming last off season, they got nothing to lose. And you brought it up earlier. They haven't cried about the stadium. They haven't cried about Brazil. The only thing the coach said is, I'm trying to figure out my right guard. That's basically it. So I'm like, I don't know. I think it's advantage Packers when you take all the factors of like roster and stuff out. I think all the external factors of this game is an advantage for the Packers. I hope the Eagles can come out swinging and win, but with that defense, I'm a little worried that Jordan Love has his way with him. I am. I mean, remember, you're talking about a guy who diced the Cowboys last year for 48 or 49 points, whatever it was, in the playoffs. I mean, this guy can play. He's a good quarterback.
And that's a good play caller.
Better guys now in that room. Now, I do think John's right about that running game. I think it got worse when you get rid of Aaron Jones. He was a dynamic player. I think
Josh Jacobs is better.
Josh Jacobs is a runner, though. He's not going to give you that
versatility catching that in the backfield.
Exactly.
Yeah, yep. So he's not that guy.
And Jordan Love made good use of that. So we're going to see, but I do think this is a tough game for the Packers. Look, I think this Eagles team is going to be great. I think this opening week on a Friday night in Brazil, losing a game at the Link versus a potential NFC contender late in the year, I don't like it. I don't like it for this team. I really don't. So we're going to see how it goes, but I do think this is going to be a tough game. It's going to be an uphill battle for this Eagles team, no doubt.
Do you put any weight into what Gary Cobb said about what Darius Slay? And I posted it on my Twitter.
Yeah, Gary Cobb was spot on.
I mean, he was bitching about the trip, and completely there was bitching about the food, bitching about the requirements that
everything.
you have to have in food and all that, the travel, the 9 hours. He complained about it all, and I posted it, and I was like this, damn, just go play the fucking game, dude.
I know, man. And
I
Garrett
mean,
Cobb was spot on with his take on this. He was spot on with, shut up, man. You don't want to be a leader on this team saying that crap. Get ready to play. I don't care if we're in Brazil or Jupiter. Go get ready to play. That's what you should be saying. And the fact that he's doing that publicly on his podcast, I don't think it's a great look. But at the end of the day, none of that shit's going to matter. When the lights are on and that ball gets kicked off, we're going to know real quick who the hell showed up to play. It's either going to be the Packers or it's going to be the Eagles. And we're going to find out. So hopefully the Eagles come ready. Hopefully the Jalen comes ready and that offense comes ready. I think it's going to be a shootout, man. If I'm on BetUS before this game, I'm taking the over. I'm taking the over on passing yards for both quarterbacks.
oh yeah,
I think it's going to be an air raid. A lot of yards, a lot of
you
points.
could
in
see
this game.
8 touchdown passes between both
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah, well, we'll see about that, but I think it's going to be a high scoring ball game with a lot of offense.
Let me put this to bed here, finally here. What'd you make of Nick Sirianni confirming what Jalen said was true about Jason Kelsey and, how the whole conversation about, the stunting in a way, and that's my word, the stunting in the way of being able to pick up blitzes and all that Jalen was right. Jalen was right in what he said. And just put it to bed here a little bit. I mean, it's just really a weird way of going about trying to come up with a way to blame. And it's like organizationally, they're not going after, that's not fair. They're not going after Kelsey, but it's almost like a hanging excuse. You know what I'm saying, Zander? It's like, why? What's the point now on September 3rd? You're still talking about that. And you got a game 4 days from now. You know what I'm saying? The whole thing just doesn't make any sense to bring it up. He didn't like when people were bringing up the Wink Martindale comments in a presser, the previous presser. And all of a sudden now he brings this up and you're like, damn, dude, that's 10 months ago.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you make of it?
I think it's either going to matter a lot.
You think it's dead now?
Well, if they win, if they come out hot and they win ball games and they answer the bell, it's a nothing burger.
Yep.
But if this thing falls off the rails, like we've said, all of these things will be rehashed, rediscussed, re-talked about, and become a thing. So it's fair for it to be discussed. But look, go out there and win games, and none of that shit matters. That's what it comes down to. By the way, I want to thank our guy Bleed Green. Love that, man. Bleed Green says, long day of work today, Big Sills. At least I got you guys for the ride home. Appreciate you, Bleed Green, the working men and women of this country. Keep it moving. So good for you, man. Thanks for being here this afternoon.
All right. Do you have a couple of these, my Big Sills bold predictions?
Yeah, hit me, brother. I only got a couple minutes.
Here we go. I got A.J. Brown with 15 touchdowns this year.
Ooh, that's a good bold prediction. I like that. I will agree with that. I've said A.J. Brown has a big year. Good prediction, Sills. I like that one.
But I do think that Devontae has more receiving yards.
I think that's possible because remember, A.J. Brown's going to attract a lot of attention from defenses. You are at a point with a pick your poison on covering this Eagles offense, right? Who do we want to take away? Because they got a lot of guys. You can't take them all away. So I think teams are going to choose to be beaten by Saquon, Devontae, and the other guys over A.J. Brown. So I think that's a good take. And then A.J. gets the bulk of the load in the red zone where he's got the big body. He can out-muscle guys and just simply out-physical them. So I think you have a good projection there. And I don't dislike Devontae out getting more yards than them. Devontae is a first-class receiver in this league. So it's not crazy to say he's capable of 1,500-plus yards. It's not. So
I think it was an absolutely ridiculous comment by Sirianni to go, well, the other guys got votes. If there's not a guy on that football team that represents leadership and being accountable and professionalism, you break the rules and you give him a captaincy. Not that it doesn't matter to him, but you know what? It's a perception thing, dude. I mean, you look at it, and when he says this, well, Devontae didn't get enough votes. I think people are starting to take him for granted. I think you look at his professionalism and who he is. Sometimes you take greatness for granted. And you look at a guy's character and you take that shit for granted. Dude, don't take that guy for granted because he embodies everything you want to have as a player.
Yeah, and they put, look, I get it. They do a team vote or whatever, but You're telling me, look,
Really,
I
seriously.
like Jake Elliott, but you're telling me you put the kicker as a captain over a
Over
guy
Smith?
who's a premier wide receiver in the NFL, who you just give the contract to, who, as you mentioned, is a consummate pro, who does all his business the right way. I don't know. I guess it's a vote, so it's not really, it doesn't really come down to that. But if I had it my way, Devontae Smith would be a captain on this team. And you know what? People aren't going to like this. I wouldn't have Darius Slay as a captain on my football team. I think Darius Slay is a great player. I think he's done an unbelievable things in this league. I think he has a chance to be a Hall of Famer one day. I do not think he's a captain of a football team. I think that merits a different type of player. I think that merits a player that, as you point out, is a professional, knows how to lead men, knows how to put their work first. And I wouldn't have Slay. Look, I'm not trying to criticize Slay for everybody who's going to jump on me. I'm just saying, when you're talking
Those
about
are facts.
seven captains, you got 7 guys. Slay's not one of my 7. That's all.
No way.
And neither is Jake Elliott.
When I think of leadership, I don't think of Darius Slay.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
not. I think of AJ Brown more than him.
AJ Brown is a leader. Look, I know you have your things with him, but
Xander, again, it's a lot of fun stuff. But at the end of the day,
he is, man. He's a leader. He really is. He took he takes accountability in that locker room. He stands and faces the music. He holds people accountable, and he matches it on the field. He plays with his heart on his sleeve. And I love that about A.J. Brown. So I would 100% make A.J. Brown a captain. And I think Devontae Smith is right there, too. I would put Devontae in there.
2 last ones here for you. I don't want to keep you any longer here. Jaws said something on WIP today that kind of perked me up a little bit here when it came to this. I wonder if the Eagles are going to be physical. And I was like, Jesus, okay, what does that mean? Are they going to be physical? Because last year they got away from physicality, Xander.
Yeah, they did.
Okay. Do you think, because if they don't run the ball 20 times with Saquon Barkley, that's a finesse team. If they throw the ball 35 or more times, that's a finesse team. So will they get back to being physical? Because you don't pay $61 million to run the ball and give the ball to Kenny Gainwell. The question will be, will they get back to being physical and buck the trends and go, we got an O-line, we got a premier back, let's go win these games. It's game 1 of the season. Let's soften up Green Bay. They kind of weren't good against the run. Or are you really going to play into the teeth of the tiger and throw the ball 40 times?
Yeah, that's a tough one. It's a tough one because,
if you throw the ball 40 times against the Packers, you'll lose big.
I'd have to agree with that because you're not going to control the clock that way. And Green Bay you're getting into an air raid type of game. And I don't think you want to do that with Jordan Love. But no, it's tough to respond to that because I think I agree with your take in that you want to be physical, but I don't think that's what the organization wants this team to do.
You keep other opponents close when you.
I will say, though, as much as Kellen Moore spreads that ball around and loves the air raid, he does have a good balanced attack with the run. At least he did in Dallas. So with the backs we have, I would hope that they bring that out of them. But I don't know. John keeps saying a lot of these yards for Barkley are going to come closing out games, and they're going to try and build this lead up, through the air. And, I more see it an old school way where I like to run the ball, beat your opponent to a pulp, and then open up the play action, open up the passing game, because you're forcing the ball down their throat with your dominant offensive line and your skilled running back. But it doesn't seem like that's going to be their approach, or at least that's what I'm told from John, who take it at face value, or take it for however you will. But he's normally pretty right about that stuff. He covers the team up close and personal. So I don't know. We'll see what they do, man. I hope they're physical too, but and if they're not, it better work. It better work.
Zander, here's again another case of getting away from 22. You weren't physical throwing the ball in 22. You were physical in setting up the pass with the run and dominating and finishing off teams in the first half.
I know. You're right.
If you think now what they're saying and John's saying is they're going to throw the ball to loosen teams up. That's a finesse team. That's not a physical team.
I know. No, you're right. You're 100% right. And maybe that's why Jaws is seeing the same thing as John, and he just wanted to say it in a more closed off, in a more, subdued way, a type of read between the lines type of way where he said what he said, and it's interesting what he says. But look, we'll see. We're only 3 days out, Big Sills. In fact, what are we, 72 hours from this thing? Are we 75 hours from this game being underway, baby? Oh my goodness.
Dude, we're like, here we are. We're like hours away from that Thursday game when we're talking.
How good is that game going to be?
Baltimore. Lamar's got to win that game. That he has to win that game.
Yeah, I heard some of people saying, we talked about that on the show this morning, like Lamar needs to beat. No, he doesn't. Because
Mahomes doesn't need it. Mahomes is gauging the postseason.
Neither of them
need it. He's got to win that game. He's got to.
You want to win it, but neither of them need it. You need to win when it matters most. I
want him to beat him if I'm on that
Mahomes lost to the Eagles last year, though.
What?
Mahomes lost to the Eagles last year.
But it didn't matter. He's at a different level now. He's not gauged any longer in the regular.
Okay, see, so Keith says, Keith, appreciate you being here, brother. He says he's 0-3 against Patrick and the Chiefs. Yeah, I mean, I guess it matters, but I'd much rather him be 0-4 versus the Chiefs with a playoff win versus the Chiefs than 1-3 versus the Chiefs and then lose when the lights get brighter. But I hear you, Keith. I understand why people are saying he needs this win. So we'll see. I do think the Ravens have a better roster than the Chiefs, but that Chiefs team is scary, man. And by the way, Andy Reid, when he's got time, he's tough to beat. So we'll see what ends up happening in that one.
All right, finally here. I've upped it 100 yards. Here is my prediction for Jalen Hurts. I've upped it 100 yards.
A measly 100.
3,750. 25 touchdown passes. 600 yards rushing. And 10 touchdowns rushing. It's a total of 35 total touchdowns and a little over 4,400 yards in total offense.
What's their record?
9-7.
9-7. There's 17 games, jerk off.
Okay, that's right. I forgot. They're 10-7. Oh, wait. They're 9-8.
9-8.
They're not winning 10 games.
Well, we got a problem with those stats then. But if he's got those stats, I don't care about stats like you. I've already projected, I believe Jalen Hurts has his biggest year ever passing the football for this team. But at the end of the day, I really don't care. If we're 13-4 and Jalen has 3,300 yards passing, I could give two shits. Go out there, manage the game, win the game, and take each game. Every game has a different identity, has a different feel to it, has a different way to play to win. Jalen's been pretty good at answering the bell depending on what's needed for each game. He's been good in his wins in this league. So I don't really care about the stats, but I'm going to say over on basically everything you said. 3,600, no way. He's going to bust 4K. 25 passing touchdowns. I got closer 28 to 30, somewhere in that range. I think he's got a better year throwing the ball. I like your rushing predictions. I'm going to say they come down a little bit. I think 400 or 500 yards rushing with about 6-7 touchdowns on the ground, because I don't think the tush push is going to be as prominent. I think he had 8 or 9 tush push.
So you think he's going to have 5,000 total yards this season?
Well, I got him 4K plus 500 yards in the air. So 500 yards on the ground. So I got him. Yeah. I mean, I think close.
To 5,000 total yards and 38 touchdowns, for almost 40 TDs.
Well, he had 38 touchdowns last year.
Okay. I mean,
38 touchdowns last year. Did you forget that?
Isn't it funny that the guy had 3,700 or 3,800 yards in a year where he won 14 ball games? And you're trying to tell me this year he's going to win 14 games and he's going to throw 4,400 yards, 30 touchdowns. No way. Who do you think this guy is?
MVP. MVP.
And he wins the MVP, right? He wins the MVP.
That's what I think.
You think he wins the MVP?
Well, no, here's my projection. If they, and this is crazy talk, by the way. We're September 3rd. Everybody makes projections on the season. So if my projections come true, Jalen Hurts will, without a doubt, be the MVP. Without a shred of a doubt, he will be the MVP. Now, if they don't, maybe he won't. But at the end of the day, I don't really care about that either, because MVP is not a trophy we lift in Philly and doesn't get us a parade on Broad Street. Ask Lamar Jackson about MVPs and what they got him, other than a big contract. So I'd much rather get a Super Bowl than an MVP. But I do believe Jalen has his biggest year ever as a pro with Kellen Moore. I think he's going to have it's going to be fun to watch this year.
5 wins. Angelo.
5 wins is crazy.
5 wins, Angelo. By the way, I got to give it to Angie. Angie's good. He said this: I'll eat humble pie Monday, or we'll all cry on Monday.
I'm going to come on with a big pot of crow stew, and I'm going to start serving it up on the show.
Oh, I've got a good prediction on Friday for this thing. Oh no, Thursday I got to do it because Friday. No, I'll be able to do a pregame kind of in a way for that stuff too. Oh yeah. Plus we got some good news coming up, I believe, here soon. Yeah, we got some good news coming up here, folks. Holy cow!
I think Big Sills is going to be
eating crow.
I think he's going to be eating a lot of crow. I think he's going to be eating more than one dose of crow. I think he's going to be getting seconds and thirds and fourths. It's going to be like Fogo de Chao what's that little restaurant where you turn the thing over and the food just starts delivering. They're just going to be delivering the plates of crow to Big Sills all season long, baby.
I think I'm like, what's that guy that eats the hot dogs?
Yeah, he set another record yesterday or something.
I saw that, dude. I saw that guy. He did it on Netflix.
What's that guy's name?
Jimmy, what's his name? Chesswood or
Joey Chestnut. That's what it is.
Yeah, Joey Chestnut. Joey Chestnut. Oh, wow. The Eagles brought back fucking Jack Driscoll.
Yeah, good. Put him on the bench. Hopefully he doesn't get any time.
Let me get. What is that? Possum pie? What are you talking about, man? Hey, listen, I hate to do this to you, Zander, on the way out. I just have to say this. I hope they win because, boy, I don't want to, this is where you say you don't want to be right, but, oh, boy, do I see 45-17.
40.
I see 45-17 Packers. I don't know why.
If the Packers win this game 45-17, forget the talk about the camel ads. They'll be burnt to charcoal, dude.
Those things will be used as a bonfire.
Exactly. The whole city will be a bonfire. So forget the talk about those. If they lose this game 45-17, it's lights out. People are not going to be happy, but we'll see. Look, I don't think it's going to be that bad, but like I said, I think this team's going to be great. I'm concerned about this week 1 game, man. So we'll see how it plays out, but I do have my doubts on this week 1 game specifically.
As we roll out of here, I have a problem with that Slay comment too. We'll probably talk a little more about that as the week goes on too. Zander, great stuff. Thank you so much, my friend.
Appreciate you, Sills. Everybody in the chat, love you guys. Appreciate all of you guys for the support of the channel. Appreciate all y'all. Sills, see you, man.
You got it, brother. Don't forget to catch Zander in the morning at Birds 365, as those guys do such a great job at covering the Birds. They had a big show today. We appreciate you guys so much. Thank you guys again. Please hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.